Conniving morning, when you had your pocket full, in a bills there'll be morning. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me morning. Yes, morning, neighbor. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I don't want you conniving morning. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill the piece. A 2 pound note and a kill the piece. A 2 pound note and a kill the piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money, neighbor. Money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph. For me.
Ravens, we're taking over!
Hi, sporting fans. It's here. Club Twilight is now open. Check us out on Sideline Dam, north side of the public road. All weekend, starting 6 o'clock this evening. 4 banks beer, $1,000. 5 GT beers, $1,000. Come and enjoy a spanking new and comfortable atmosphere. Popular music and popular DJs. Cutters on fleek. Yes, Club Twilight, your new entertainment zone. Sideline Dam, Buxton North. Come out and have a blast from 6 o'clock this evening. The weekend has started.
Ravens, we're taking over!
11:30. It's also the 26th day of August in the year 2022. Yes. Welcome to another program. Tell you all something. I want to know. Tell you all something. I can't seem to get my WhatsApp to work on the computer.
DION talks about the safety in abiding in the presence of.
And so, we are going to rock and roll without it. Don't let them hamburg us. Welcome to the program. Do share the live. We are now at 500 million. Come on, come on. That's only 500 million. I need another 500 million. Come, share this thing. Share this thing. Share this thing and bring in everybody because I'm talking free this morning. My mouth ain't got cover. Y'all call Dungan for me. You know, in life it has got some wash up people who still looking for relevance. Dungan is one of them. Y'all call Dungan for me. I like calling name, you know. Because I ain't got no fear. At least of them. I fear the Creator. Good. I fear the Creator. I fear not a soul but the Creator. So y'all call Dungan. This morning I'm calling out the EDFA. The East Demerara Football Association. EDFA. I wonder if it's that it stand for. Or the E could be another thing. Anyways, I'm calling them out this morning. You see, we in this society, we have to learn to hold people accountable. Only until we hold people accountable, we are going to get changes, desirable change. And I tell you, don't be afraid to hold me accountable. Yeah, I know me either say I got skeletons, but they're small. And anything I could be found guilty of, the average Guyanese citizen, the average human being can be found guilty of. Well, Roy, yes, I rest assured in that. And so I am not scared. They say he who is without sin casts the first stone. I know I got sins, but I still pelt in like hell and go. Because somebody got to decide that they're going to bell the cat. Otherwise the cat is going to wreak havoc among us. And you see, since we black people ain't got no unity, at least so they say, and we ain't got no love and we ain't got no loyalty, sometimes they got to really pelt some stones. This morning I pelted stones. Pelted enough stones though. This morning we're going to talk about Dungan and the EDFA. Anybody knows Dungan? If any of you on this live, and I'm serious, if you know Dungan, if you can remember who Dungan is, send me a message on the live chat. Because I want to see how relevant this man is. Right? I really want to see how relevant this man is, Dungan. They say a little knowledge, a little wisdom, a little learning could be a dangerous thing. I'm not sure that the man is very bright. I'm not sure that he's very bright. But I know he has some bright people around him. But like the bright and the blind. You know what I say? One eye man, a king, a blind eye country. So book bright, book smart is different to road smarts. They got a lot of academics. They might bright bad. They got degree and master's degree and postgrad and all kind of things to the name. But they ain't got road sense. They ain't got common sense. Common sense ain't so common. Right? I want to believe we got some of them in the EDFA. They got a blind man leading them. A one-eye man, a semi-literate, leading them. and they're just going along for the ride. Well, this morning we're going to talk about them. Glenford Gordon said he never heard of Dungin. But he had the name now, Dungin. You know, when we were growing up, you look at certain people, you get them names according to how they look. Like Pashuma. Raquel. Right? That's our name, Dungin. So we're going to be talking about Dungin. You share the life. Listen, I tell you nothing but Dungin till I reach 1 million, you know. So you better share quick. Share the life. Mark Doris. It's what Mark Doris writing them, man. Some 2 letters. Like some people when you ask them to draw their name, they draw 2 letters. Because that is all they know. Are you from among the trenches? The intellectually lazy? Are you from among the thumb printers? I got some people who genuinely got put their thumb there. Because they become aged. And so their ability to control writing tool and so on is no longer there. So they got to use thumbprint. But I got some young people who are using thumbprints. Simply because they benefited from satiric girls, No Child Left Behind. Yeah. So I'm asking y'all again, y'all know Dungin? Y'all know about this banner? Anyways, while I wait for y'all to share the live so we can talk about Dungin, let me tell you, inform you, remind you, bring to the fore that they have received information, advice that is, from the hack. Right? The hack, the PPP hack, Shalimar, says that Police Sergeant DION BASCOM must be charged. That's the advice that she gave the police. Charge the boy. But charge him for what? Criminal offenses. Charge him. Well, I will say this. I have not seen the entire advice. I have not had the benefit of looking at it as yet, reading it and so on. But one of the things I'm sure of, or one of the questions that come to mind is, what are these criminal offenses that the BASCOM should be charged with? Let me repeat in case y'all never heard me say it. The BASCOM can be a peach. The BASCOM could never be a saint. He's definitely not an angel. So he had skeletons in his closets. He definitely has skeletons in his closets. So what are we charging him for criminally? Did somebody go and dig up his skeletons in the Guyana police force? Somebody knew where the bodies were buried? I'd like to know. So I'm waiting anxiously to see the charges. I am waiting anxiously to see the charges that will be instituted against Detective Sergeant DION BASCOM. And I'm also hoping that when those charges come before the courts, I know he has a, what should I say, a powerhouse of an attorney there in Nigeria. I'm hoping that the trial of those charges will give us the opportunity to really get a good peek into the operation of the Guyana Police Force. because Nigel is smart. I'm sure he's going to know what questions to ask and where to lead his witnesses. And so I guess we're getting the opportunity, because the script is being written, to look at a new soap opera named the Guyana Police Force. Or the blue wall comes tumbling down, or the shaky blue wall will suddenly fall. Something, but I know we are going to get a good peek into the Guyana Police Force. I'm waiting to see what those charges are. Starboy Wickham says that Dungin is the coach of the Dynamic Football Club Golden Grove. Come to the front of the class. No, I can't put you in the front yet, Starboy Wickham. You sound like you're from that side. The Wickhams are from Hansgrove, Victoria area, you know, Dutch 4 area. Are you one of them, Starboy? You sound like a footballer to Starboy. All them footballers think that they're stars. Some are burnt out stars, some are pitched stars, and so on. But we're going to talk about Dungin still. Right? I'm looking for more information on Dungin. He's not only the coach of the Dynamic Football Club, but we're continuing to talk about the BASCOM. So they will charge him and they will put him before the court. And I'm hoping that that will open up further the kind of worms that is the Guyana Police Force. Okay, let's keep that in mind. But one comes to the point of asking, where is justice? Where is justice? Where can one find justice? Lady Justice, it says blind. But in Guyana, justice sees. Lady Justice sees. She has the benefit of 20/20 vision. She sees. She sees race. She sees color. She sees status. She sees affiliation. She sees all of these things. And so once you can see, you will exercise your biases. If you can see two apples before you, there's a big one and there's a small one, and you ask, which one would you like? Many of us will say we want the big one, because we can see and we recognize that one is bigly than the other. Recognize that one is bigger than the other. And so we believe we might get more satisfaction, more utility out of the bigger one. And so we say, give us the bigger one. Good? So Lady Justice in this country sees. In this instance, Lady Justice sees through the DPP, through the eyes of the DPP, the hack, that this is a subordinate officer, a sergeant of police, making allegations against senior officers, officers more senior to him. Lady Hack sees that in her mind, or in her mind's eye, that these senior officers are more valuable to the state than this junior officer making these allegations. She sees the lines of corruption and connections. And so she has decided, hey, you'll charge him criminally. Because charging him criminally will have the possibility of removing him as a source of problem. Let me explain that. When they charge him, if ever the inquiry begins, then they would have already tainted his character by saying he is a tainted witness. He is before the courts for many of these charges related to this very issue which we are now investigating. Right? So it's just another step in their effort to silence DION BASCOM. And we must call it for what it is. We must call it for what it is. The police, aided by the DPP, aided by the political arm of the state, are continuing to try to silence the BASCOM. They don't want the issues which he has raised to be ventilated. They don't want them ventilated. Charging him, placing him before the court, saying that you're not ready to proceed with the trial, is likely to have DION BASCOM placed on remand in some prison somewhere. By placing him on remand in some prison somewhere, they will be exposing him to danger and possibly death. Right? Because remember, this is a policeman who was taking criminals off the street, whether by fair or foul means, I would assume. Remember, this is a policeman who has enemies in the penal system because he had to put them there, whether fair or foul means were used. And so putting him in the penal system by way of remand until these charges are tried and so on is exposing him to danger, either of him becoming dead or maimed. Remember, the Mohammed group made a public statement saying that they know of an influential businessman in the core of the PPP that has caused people to go to jail on trumped-up charges. And was instrumental in attacking their dignity because inmates were paid to sexually assault them while they were there over and over, and video it too. And so we are saying that there's a certain connection in this society that can see DION BASCOM done in. Get lashes, they like to say, once placed in the penal system. But that is what is about to happen. At least so it would appear. What do we do as citizens? Or why is that even allowed to happen the way it is happening? I dare argue that it can happen. It is being allowed to happen. It will happen in a society like ours because citizens are not vigilant. Citizens are not interested in the defense of their democracy. They are not interested in the defense of law and order. I don't see the relatives and friends of the BASCOM in front of the DPP's office protesting. I don't see them in front of the police headquarters protesting for fair play. I don't see other citizens joining them or other citizens out there protesting and demanding fair play. You see, in other societies, what the state would have done is they would have collected the BASCOM, offered him witness protection like Nigel Hughes asked the fat guy to do, protect him as a witness, as a state's witness, and do some plea bargainings with him. In other words, we will protect you. We will keep you out of prison dependent on the bad things that you have done, how bad they are. Or we will guarantee you reduced sentences on the bad things you have done in exchange for you giving us all the dirt on your co-conspirators in the Guyana police force, because that's what they are, co-conspirators. At least in some instances. Right? Dexter Leander, you're too smart. Yes. That is what societies which strive to be law-abiding would do. So instead of rushing to charge DION BASCOM, which will make him aggressive to the state, angry with the state, so I want to mean an unforeseen. I ain't going to incriminate myself. Right? In other places, they would have offered him deals. This is what we will do for you if you will do this for us. But no, in Ghana, let us dig a lash in him because we want him to shut up. Right? Let us lash him because we want him to shut up. And that is what is happening. But I was saying that this can only happen because citizens are lethargic. Citizens are carefree. We don't give a damn. It's not at our door. Or so it would seem. Because when you have a misbehaving police force or misbehaving law enforcement officers, it is already at your door. Because that misbehavior can visit you at any time. When you have a bunch of criminals in the police force being allowed to run wild and do as they like, and it would appear as though nobody can hold them accountable, what do you think will happen? Some of them will start coming to your house and collecting your children, man. Y'all remember the late Henry Green? The last allegation made against Henry Green before he died was rape and buggery. Y'all remember that? And he was made to stand trial, I think. Yes, he was asked to go before the court for trial. But he never had his day in court, if I can say that. But perhaps there was sufficient evidence to make him stand trial. Citizens have to stand up. Citizens have to demand. Where are all of these right-thinking individuals or these fair-minded individuals, these guardians of democracy? Are they interested in seeing this matter fully investigated and heads roll? The guilty pay for their crimes? I don't hear the guardians of democracy mentioning anything about the BASCOM and police fiasco. You know why? Because examine the guardians of democracy and you will find two sets of people. Or perhaps three sets of people. You will find those who are comfortable feeling at the trough of the PPP. You will find those who are members of the criminal underworld. And so they have no interest in this matter being ventilated because they might get caught up in it. And you will find those who are friends, families, and favorites of not only the politically corrupt, but the corrupt police system. And so none of them will come out and say, well, hey, this is nastiness, and it must be addressed. No, none of them will do that. None. Who then will bail the cat? Who then will bail the cat? Up until now, I have not really seen aggressive reporting on this matter from the mainstream media, from the angle of the Guyana police force being taken out to wash. I've seen them try to report that the BASCOM is corrupt. He's of questionable character. I've seen them report that he is to be charged and stuff like that. Higgins' #1 PR company, Big Smith. I didn't see him reporting a whole lot on the allegations made against the police force and senior officers. But I saw him carry a staged interview seeking to discredit DION BASCOM. Bacchus was interviewed by Big Smith. And he said BASCOM admitted a lot of things to him. He was like the priest. You know, you go into the confessionary and you say, "Bless me, Father, for I've sinned." And Bacchus said that BASCOM really confessed to him a lot of things. But all he was prepared to point out is that BASCOM used to take narcotics from the police anti-narcotics department or division, whatever they call it, and sell it back on the streets. Allegations are out there that Caesar does the same thing. Allegations, not I said, it is alleged that Caesar got some drug blocks around the city. Who's his supplier? We beat it up on the messenger instead of trying to get to the meat of the matter. I heard Bacchus interviewed by Travis Chase, and I heard him hinted that BASCOM is no saint. He also hinted that Caesar is no saint. And I've been saying that all the time. If you want to be fair-minded, you have to examine the coin from all angles and sides, man. Not just the two sides, but you got to check the rim and so on. But because this man is coming from the belly of the beast and is tainted by the slime from the belly of the beast, he doesn't have credible information that can finally kill the beast. He understands the beast. And he should be able to help us to slay the beast. So we should welcome him and protect him. And when we're done slaying the beast, we can deal with him. But you can't slay him before you get the information that will slay the beast. If you do that, it means that you're protecting the beast. And that is what is happening here. The DPP says, slay him, charge him, playing right up the alleyway of the corrupt policemen and women. That's what they want, to get him out of the way. The government wants to get him out of the way. And the DPP is a hack of the government. She knows that. And so she's playing along. But should citizens sit back and allow them to do just what they are doing? Or should citizens be out there in their numbers demanding that BASCOM be protected and the mother of all inquiry into the police force started? And certainly not led by the RSS, but a policing organization or investigative organization of repute, like the FBI, like Scotland Yard, like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Certainly not the RSS. But we are not there. We are not out there calling for anything. We are not protesting for anything. We are not demanding anything. We are not threatening to make this place ungovernable if we don't get what we want as citizens. We just rocking back and look on and whisper among ourselves, you see? You know what we are setting ourselves up for? If we allow this system to mash down the BASCOM, you will never have another police whistleblower, not in a short time. You have been given as a society the opportunity on a platter to right the wrongs of the Guyana police force against the citizens of this country. But nobody is protecting, nobody is defending that opportunity. And we are going to allow it to go by. And we will sit and we will hold our heads in our hands and cry that the police force is getting stinker and dirtier by the day, because we are allowing that opportunity to right the wrongs to pass. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Share the life. I still am not at $1 billion yet. Remember, we're heading for $1 billion. Because the wider and farther the information gets, the more impactful it is. More people get their feelings hurt. We should internationalize this issue. But are we? You know, every now and again I like to mash the toes. Where are the opposition parliamentarians? Where's the leader of the opposition? Where are the opposition members of parliament? Has any of them attempted to make this thing international? Have they? I hope they have. And if they have, I hope they will make it publicly known. Because sometimes we do things too hush-hush. And so others get the impression we're doing nothing at all. Good. It's Free Talk Friday. It's now 8 o'clock hour. I think I deserve a musical break. What y'all want I play this morning? I know what I'm going to play. Y'all don't have to tell me nothing. Captain! The ship is sinking. Somebody said that should be our top tune. Y'all listen to Gypsy. Is he Lord Gypsy or is he just Gypsy? Gypsy! Captain! The ship is sinking.
Location, 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. SOS, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea, with an old captain named Eric Williams. Oh yes, it's smooth and free, but sadly Eric Williams passed away. The ship hit rough water that day. Someone turned the bridge over to a captain named Chambers. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a ball. Captain, the ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. The Trinidad, oh, she was a beauty, with wealth that few surpassed. And in her day, she sailed majestically. There were few in her class. Faithfully, she fulfilled her sailor's need. Some were overpowered by greed, and so they pilfered slow. Some took by bulk and go. Now she looked dull, she's at a lull. She could barely sit on her hull. Captain, the ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa, whoa. dedicated to answer all SOS calls. And yes, well, she always did her best to help out those in distress. Now it's so sad to see she's in difficulties. Though she helped share, some of them share, and sarcastically declare, Captain, the ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. We gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we sit on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. If only there was something I could have done to restore the credibility of this beautiful vessel. Money's no problem. Now there's a lot of fingers pointing, suspicion running strong. Who's to be blamed for all her failures? Who's to be blamed for doing her wrong? Now please remember I'm warning you, for 30 years she had the same crew who hold the keys to her vault. So we know who's at fault. Now it's up to you, it's up to me to make her worthy to go back to sea. Captain, the ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. We don't know. Captain, you tell me, oh, we don't know. You tell me, oh, we don't know. Put on a flag, oh gosh, we don't know. When we turn to the World Bank for help, I know.
Captain, the ship is sinking. We don't know. Yes, let me tell you that the Buxton Heritage Fund USA presents its Labor Day weekend, and that's a picnic jam on Saturday, September 3rd. That's next Saturday. Yes, not this Saturday, the following Saturday, as we say Saturday week. Yes, it's from sunset to morning. From night till morning. Live entertainment by Superior One-Man Band. Coming straight out of Buxton, of course, you have DJ Stereo Choice. Breathtaking outdoor atmosphere. The location is at 454 Vermont Street, Brooklyn, New York. 11207. That's between Blake and Sutter Avenues. Come out, man. The starting time, Bacchanal time is 4 p.m. until whenever. We ain't going home. For tickets, you pay a donation. It's a donation of $10 in advance, $15 at the door. Of course, there will be a cash bar for drinks and food, and the prices are wonderful. You can get your tickets from John P. Newton, and his telephone number is 347-881-7055. Onika Connell can be reached at 917-912-9384. Dennis Booker, she's always there and present, 929-239-0290. Of course, Lorna Campbell can be reached at 718-342-0040. And Rennie Paris is at 347-863-6121. Ken Wilkinson is at 646-789-3912. That's 3972. My bad. Quentin Bacchus at 202-460-3948. And Boyer Wood can be reached at 646-727-5937. Ojembo Tafawa is at 631-806-3500. Yes, you can check them out. You can also get tickets online, and you can pay them at PayPal account Buxton Friendship Heritage Fund. Yes, the Buxton Friendship Heritage Fund USA presents the Grand Labor Day Weekend Picnic and Jam. It's next Saturday, Saturday, September 3rd. Come out and jam to the big songs of Super One-Man Band and DJ Stereo Choice. Support the thing, because when you support the thing, they are raising funds to support things back home in Guyana. So support the thing. Captain, the ship is sinking. You see all of them banners who put their numbers out there for people buy tickets to this weekend jam. I hope they know nobody, you know. Because the numbers gonna start ringing. Yes, that's the whole story. The ship is sinking. The Guyana police force is sinking. It's sinking. You know, when we were growing up, we used to challenge each other to say, Mr. Smith's ship sink. Right? I want to say that the police ship stink. Let's keep that in mind. People have to stand up and demand. They say you get a government you deserve. But you will also get institutions of government that you deserve if you don't do anything about them when they're misbehaving. Let's keep that in mind. Now let's talk about Dongin. I gave Dongin enough time to tune into this broadcast because I don't want anybody to go tell Dongin Kams TV said. I want Dongin to get the information firsthand. Right? So I asked earlier if you all know Dongin, if anybody knows Dongin. And somebody said he is a coach of the Dynamic Football Club in Golden Grove. Usually what you have happening is that when somebody was outstanding in their game, usually they go on to coach other youngsters so that they too can become outstanding in the game. Right? Dongin had his, what should I say, claim to fame in the days of Victoria Kings. Y'all remember when Victoria Kings won the Kashif and Shanghai tournament, I think twice in 2 years, consecutive years? Dongin used to play with the Victoria Kings during that time, if I remember clearly. They're making money, but a lot of them with their, you know, indiscipline and so on, ended up broke. They end up with nothing really to their names. And I'm calling it as I see it. But when you're a sports star in any country, you live a lifestyle of hype. And if you don't put systems in place to maintain that hype, you find that your means of maintaining that hype disappears and leave you hyping off of thin air. And then you become the joke of the tongue. Right? And when you realize that you're the joke of the tongue, some people become desperate enough to do untoward things to maintain their hype. Dongin is one of them. Yeah. Somebody said, Mr. Amsterdam, I don't like you. I wouldn't even like you to cuss me or analyze me. I know. But I like to analyze you when you get stupid. And so this morning I analyzing Dongin. Because yes, he is the coach. And he is one of the persons at the helm of the East Demerara Football Association. And the East Demerara Football Association is allowing themselves to be used as a political football. Yes, imagine if East Demerara Football Association is being used as a political football. And let me tell you that there are people who are ordinarily brilliant, who are members of that football association. I know they got at least one lawyer associated with them. I know there's at least one head teacher associated with them and other professionals and so on. And so you ask yourself, how is it that these so-called smart these so-called brilliant people can allow themselves to be used as political footballs. Because they're allowing a washed-up former national player to run the roost. He named Dungin. Like I was telling you all earlier, you look at people, you get them a nickname. I hope that is not his correct name. Raquel, Pampale, Lamata, Dungin. Right? So you give them names based on their outward appearance and so on. But you know the real tragedy in this situation, while I might be comical about it in some aspects, is this. Children, young adults, individuals look up to their coaches. They look up to their educators in total. And so whether you're educating them in sports as being a coach of football, athletics, whatever, they look up to you. If you're educating them in the classroom, in academia, they look up to you. As long as you present yourself and you're accepted as a role model, you can get children, you can get individuals to do a whole lot of things at your behest without even thinking about the consequences. And so a lot of coaches and quote-unquote role models usually find themselves guilty of abusing those positions of trust. And a lot of parents who entrust their children to these coaches, these role models, in many instances are none the wiser that their children are being taken advantage of until it's too late. Well, I am here to shine some parents and shine some wives and some girlfriends that their children and men and husbands and so on are being taken advantage of. As members of the EDFA and as members of football clubs which come under the EDFA. When y'all open the can of worms, I just like to spread it for y'all. And they will say this man who has nothing to do with football, this man who must have never kicked a football. Yeah, I kicked footballs, but I never liked this sport. Because I always felt I was going to end up with a broken leg. I preferred cricket. Right? Good. But this is not an attack on football. This is an attack on football administrators who are taking advantage of footballers. And taking advantage on youngsters who look up to them for guidance. Dungin is one such person. And the leadership of the EDFA, East Demerara Football Association, is just as guilty as Dungin. And they must get it right. Now what open up this can of worms? Well, y'all know already, so I tell y'all. But there's always a backstory. I tell y'all I like to take my time and get to the bottom of this story. But sometimes you have to pitch it out there early so people know that you're on the case. Right? Sharon Markira said they have to sit in on sessions and observe. They have to be wise. Yeah, good advice. But in this shithole country, parents are caught up fighting for their daily bread and survival. You think any husband, boyfriend, girlfriend want any partner want girlfriend gonna sit down and look over here at the football ground? No, he out there for sure have his skill for see which other girl he can get in the car now. Well, anyhow, the seriousness of the matter is that folks in football, clubs that come under the EDFA, the members are being used as political footballs. And it is being facilitated either because the leadership of the EDFA is weak or corrupt. And the likes of Dungin are getting a free hand to do just what they like to do. Drink warm soup from the PPP's table. Yeah, I like to tell you, when you mash me too, I gonna mash you on. Right? I said yesterday that the APNU AFCWPA put out a flyer for the second rally. This one is going to be held at the Golden Grove Market Square on the 3rd of September. That is Saturday, 3rd September. About 2 hours after that flyer came out and started making the rounds, a flyer headed by Team Dynamic and the EDFA started circulating. They have a parade from Buxton to Golden Grove on the same day, same time. My information is that they're taking set up from DION at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. They're being used. And not Team Dynamic is coached by Dungin. Dungin is a hack. Dungin is the trenchy. Dungin is the house slave of the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture. How do I know that? Because my investigations have revealed that Dungin was a man who was instrumental in getting the East Demerara footballers to join the buses for $3,000 a head to come to the so-called government outreach on the same day when there was the day of protest on Buxton Public Road. Dungin is using footballers to stay connected to this wicked and vindictive administration to get his pound of tainted meat from the PPP's table. And so parents, wives, sisters, brothers, whoever you are, however you're connected to these footballers, I shine in you so you could shine them. They are being used as political pawns. They're being induced with $3,000 to set up clashes, political clashes. They don't usually end nicely. People get marked. People get victimized years after. Don't set yourself up, my brothers and sisters. Now, these people are talking about the victory parade from Buxton to Golden Grove. How do you have a victory parade before the conclusion of the tournament? Tournament will not end Saturday. Tournament will not end on Saturday the 3rd. The tournament will end beyond that. How then do you get a victory parade? Unless somebody is leading you by the nose to make you make yourself an ass. How? And you know what is the inducement this time? I understand Dungin are telling the footballers, if you don't participate, we won't get sponsorship. If you don't participate, you won't get sponsorship. We won't get sponsorship. So sponsorship now is being used as a political tool. They say to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And there's a hint to Beniba Mekwashi, but take notice. Take note, Dungin, we are on to you. We are on to you. For your 30 pieces of silver, you don't care anything about the youngsters, you know. that you're using to put out there. They're anxious about being footballers. They want to make it to the highest level. And you as a coach should be leading them along the straight and narrow path as to how to get there. How to succeed, not only from the position of being a footballer, but succeed with integrity. But you are using them. You are going to take the people's money to get them to do the people's dirty bidding in the name of sponsorship. We are on to you. I'm saying this morning, if the EDFA is worth its salt, if it wants to be respected as a serious football association, it must distance itself from this kind of behavior.
It's so good, praise the Most High God every day with your whole heart desire. Lift him high, holy, 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 yeah. Holy Mount Zion, good job, let's sing.
Goodness and mercy all my life shall surely follow me, and in Jehovah's forevermore my dwelling place must be.
My soul don't have to restore again, and need to walk those days within the path of righteousness, even for his name's sake.
Yet do I walk through the dark way, yet will I fear no evil. Thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they surely comfort me. My table, oh, how furnished, in the presence of my foes. My head, oh, how anointed with oil, my cup it overflows.
Goodness and mercy all my life shall surely follow me. Hey, morning, y'all, morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. Trying to show y'all a video, but it looked like I played troublesome. Oh, yeah, hello. Hope you had a West sideline, Victoria West sideline. Remember, the development in focus is a theme that the government used when they went to BUXTON. So let us focus on development in Afro-Guyanese community in particular. Morning, Granny, Auntie, Mommy. How you do?
Morning,
Tell me, you come in and you stop by this whole way.
all my movement becoming my drum, didn't you? All my movement is a taxi. You hear if you're sick inside a A, what is there to bring you out? And the only road that do on this village is a member of the New P. It's a member of the ruling party. Not say it is a PPP man. That road, well done. Anybody can go there.
No, that road good, and then don't do it because he's senior live there.
Yes.
Then don't do it about this road condition. Look the years. You
Right
get 2
now,
feet, clearing me,
block
that
no
can,
power.
you can come out.
Black power is
Pray
not
for
where
it,
the
worse.
ruling party is concerned. If there's
Nothing.
me go get through, but how long it is, you can't make
You
it.
can't get.
Because the road that for the light come, all things that's happened to you on this road. I do they sell it when I come on the road, nothing doesn't want to bring you down the road. Sometimes I get 1 hour on the road. We can come in, look like we get an old lady there, she's 90 something. This lady mother is 80 something.
No, mommy is 91.
Good. And the ladies are all
The day we
gone.
had was the ISO from
Hey,
there.
and cash it here,
Here,
so.
celebrate to the taxi.
For the taxi. No people don't come in here.
Unfortunately, I have to abandon that cause because all you're getting is audio. I see like something showing up. I wonder why. Let me see something. Anyhow. Forget that. We don't need that. We don't need no more trouble. Morning, y'all didn't share the light yet, man. What y'all waiting for? Yada Elias, thank you very much. Who is this? Good morning. Wait.
So this road that is being done is being done according to my folks. trenches, they are filled.
Tell me the story, girl. What's going on at Victoria right now?
The coca break. The whole coca door break. And if we have this, if the tight color meter, we finish with.
Where is coca there?
At Victoria Sideline Dam, straight out to the seawall.
Oh, so the coca to the seawall has been broken?
Yes, Mr. Amsterdam.
All right, I hope the folks listening, the people from the region and the ministry and all of them who got the money in their pocket, I hope they're listening. Where the coca operator comes from? Is the coca operator from?
Because if this continue, we're having a flood. Right now on the sideline dam from the 4th Street, the water starts running over.
Okay, so the water is already bursting the dams.
Yes, it's burst and going over to the other trench. It's running over.
All right. I know they monitor the program, so I hope they are listening this morning. At least I hope they have been up early enough. So there's a disaster at East Sideline Dam, Victoria, there to the Seawall Coca.
West Sideline.
Oh, sorry, West Sideline Dam, Victoria.
West Sideline, where the pump is.
Yes. So there's a pump there also.
Yes, but right now the pump can't do anything.
Yes.
Because this is emergency, the coca breakaway, so the pump can't do anything.
All right. I ain't making no promise, girl. Sometimes I just can't tell people what I intend to do or not to do. But I was thinking I might come after the program to see what's happening. But I just changed my mind. The good angel tell me don't go no way. I don't want to be ambushed along the way, you know. I got to preserve this life of mine.
Yeah.
Because I got work to do. All right, so if you guys can get any videos, you can send it to me. If you can do a little video on your WhatsApp, send it to me, and so I can share it with the world. Good?
Okay, Mr.
Is any farming going to be affected in the area there if this water rises? It's salt water coming in?
Yes, Mr. Amsterdam, it's salt water coming in, and the people that have the garden on the other side of the dam, and they can't able to pump no water to water the garden because this is a trench that they depend on to water the garden.
Okay, good, good, good. Only yesterday I was talking about the difficulties that the Josiahs in particular were having to get their crops out and so on. And now the saltwater business.
Yeah.
All right, good. Thank you for the update. Of course, our viewers have been listening, and hopefully somebody can contact somebody to contact somebody. Eventually, I hope that the authorities get down there quickly.
Okay, Mr. Amsterdam. Thank you
very much. We'll talk.
Okay.
Yes, so those of you who are listening, if you got any connections to who the Fisher Bishop or Dharamlal or Dead Fowl, anybody in the government whatsoever, the Ministry of Agriculture, NDIA, and so on, please see if you can get contact with them and let them know that the coca down at the sluice, that is, in case of those of you who don't know what a coca is, right? The sluice at Victoria West Sideline to the seawall has been damaged, and water is now coming in to the homesteads, in the living areas, basically into the canals in the living area, and so people are going to suffer some real long-term impact there. Because once the salt water gets into the drainage canals and the irrigation canals, it means that those farmers and so on will be affected because they will not be able to irrigate their lands, their farms and so on, because the salt water is going to bring destruction to the crops. Okay, good. So let's keep that in mind. Y'all permit me. I think I got somebody number in my phone. I don't know if they're gonna answer, but I can call. In the meantime, thank you to those people who were saying that I had a good presentation yesterday at the Coffee 250 symposium. Well, the presentation could only be good because the evidence is there. It was easily acquired. The fact is, we're living in an apartheid. Hi, good morning to you, sir. How are you doing? I'm not calling your name because I'm on air, but I am alerting you in case, I don't know if you're the person or who you will be able to alert. Victoria West sideline, the sluice at the seawall side is broken, and so salt water is rushing in on the people. It's already crossing the dams. Who? Alright, if you send me a number, I'll be able to do that. But you can also call him. He might faster answer you. Thank you, sir. West sideline, Victoria West sideline. The sluice there at the seawall. It collapsed, and so salt water is rushing in. Yes, it is, Mr. Amsterdam. Good. You could send me his number too for future. Yeah, for future reference at least. Good, thanks. All right, good. Good. Yeah, so all right, so I'm going to get a number to call somebody from NDIA because, like I said, I believe they would be the fittest person. The fittest person. I actually was attempting to show you guys that video again from yesterday's presentation because, of course, it was truncated yesterday. And those people who are not viewing the symposium, I really would have liked you to get a view of what really is happening in this country in terms of discriminatory development. But for some reason or other, I'm getting my own difficulties here. And so sometimes, you know, it's not every day you're able with this thing, you know. You don't want to stress you out every day. West sideline, Victoria West sideline. Remember the development in Victoria. I don't know why it's not showing, but don't worry, sir, don't stress yourself out. We got this covered. We're gonna do what we gotta do. What I wanted to talk to you about this morning, I want to talk about your vote in apartheid Guyana. A lot of people don't like when they hear that, you know. Apartheid Guyana. Your vote in apartheid Guyana, because like it or lump it, I think the evidence was presented yesterday for us to feel free to say that we're living in an apartheid state. Right? We're living in an apartheid state. While yesterday I spoke about what's happening in Region 4 on the East Coast in terms of 17 NDCs existing, and 12 of them were given $4 to $5 million in grants, and specific directions were given in terms of how those grants should be used, and used mostly in Indo-Guyanese communities. And the 5 NDCs which are controlled by the APNU did not receive a blind cent. I can tell you that in East Berbice, Region 6, there are 19 NDCs, 19, and 2 of them are controlled by the APNU-FC, 2 or 3. And again, all of those NDCs which are controlled by the PPP were given $4 and $5 million grants, but not a single cent went to those NDCs which are controlled by the APNU-FC. So if that is not partisan, if that is not divisive, if that is not oppressive, then I don't know what it is, right? I received information yesterday that in places like Shitanka, I think the place is called, but definitely in Berbice again, every month, sections of the Berbician population is in receipt, sections are in receipt of hampers or grants. And this is continuously, every month, there's sections of Berbice that can look forward to either hampers or cash grants. Who are the people doing the distribution? The distribution is usually done through party groups. And this is no, as I would say, hush-hush business. By now it is well known. Discriminatory and divisive. If you don't see that as apartheid, I don't know what else you can consider apartheid. I mentioned previously the closure, and the APARTHEID mentioned it, the closure of the night schools that were established. I think there were 2 or 3 night schools established under the coalition government to give people a second chance at getting academically qualified. Those were immediately closed when the PPP came into office. The child care centers that were established in certain communities to give people the opportunity to leave their children to be taken care of and go to work or go for training so that they can economically empower themselves. Those were closed too, right? There are lots and lots of reasons. There's lots of evidence. We have evidence out there to support the position that Guyana is an apartheid state. A lot of people say it's a creeping apartheid. As far as I'm concerned, apartheid is upon us already. And like one viewer pointed out this morning or yesterday, the visible element of apartheid is not yet upon us, but it is creeping. That is creeping. And that is the physical divisions. Right? That is the physical divisions. But again, I want to argue that we have physical divisions around us. On previous programs here on Kams TV, I show you where the streets of Annandale are barricaded since the early 2000s. And when those barricades become dilapidated, they are fixed. They are fixed religiously, as if it is people fixing their yard fence. And the authorities, as in the local government authorities, the NEC, does nothing about it. But you, if you were to attempt to construct your fence and it passes your boundary by a few feet, the local government authority will come upon you and they will instruct you to break it down. They will send the PHI, the public health inspectors, to give you a warning and tell you that you're overstepping your boundary, etc. But public thoroughfares, as in the streets of Annandale, are barricaded, every single one of them. They're barricaded. And those barricades are maintained. To keep folks from Buxton or anybody who's coming from the east, to prevent them walking through the streets of Annandale to get whether to the Annandale market or anywhere further west. And the authorities have done nothing about it, and they're doing nothing about it. And so I'm saying that the physical barricades are already there in some instances. Guyana is now a place of gated communities. And I'm arguing that those gated communities are not by chance. It's simply that the well-to-do are separating themselves from the ordinary rank and file. The members of the cabal are separating themselves from the rank and file citizens of this country. Why do you think you got Praterville to start with and you then get Praterville too? Do you know that there was a bridge in the past that linked, I think that was called Good for Wachting, to Praterville 1? And so residents of Good for Wachting, Pleasance, and so on could have walked through that bridge, walked over that bridge to get into Ogle, whether they were going to the airstrip or further west. And continuously, the residents of Praterville 1 sabotaged that bridge. The last I heard of it, it was burnt. It was burnt under the coalition government, and then I think we built. I don't know what is the status of that bridge. But yes, the PPP and their friends are about division and segregation. I heard Leland Saul spoke yesterday about what's happening at the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Well, I spoke about that before. Let me blow my horn. That a religious leader who is minister of that ministry, that department there, well, she goes around and soft-spoken and pretensively nice. The staff members of that Human Services Department will tell you what they go through. Right? So there is evidence to talk about Guyana being an apartheid state. And I have no apologies for making it, for saying that, yes, we are in an apartheid state. And so this morning I'm talking about your vote in an apartheid state. I'm still waiting for this number, lest I forget. Sometimes you have to stay on top of things like white and rice. Okay, good. I see the numbers here. Let me see if I get this man, please and thanks. Because the people's economy and everything else is at risk. Good morning to you, sir. How are you doing? This is Mr. Amsterdam, Kidaki Amsterdam. Alright, cool. There's a situation at Victoria. The western sideline, the sluice at the head of the seawall there, collapsed. Oh, you're where? You're waiting on the tide? Alright, so you're saying that work will start when? To fix it? Uh-huh. Alright, good. So you calling me back? Okay, Victoria, help is on its way. I was told by a representative of the NDIA that they are now alerted and they are making preparations to deal with it, and they have started pulling together resources to deal with it, but they are waiting on the tide. Right? So I get the impression that, well, I don't know, the caller who calls gave me the impression that the tide is currently low. I hope that is what I understood, because she said if the tide should rise, then things are going to get worse. But at the end of the day, understand that help is on the way. The NDIA is going to be down there. The NDIA is going to be down there to address that issue. So I didn't say to get off your knees, you know, you can continue praying. Right? Give thanks. Good. All right, so Victoria, you can spread the word. Spread the word. Right, so we are talking about a segregated Guyana and your vote. Elections are meant to change governments, or so people think. There are others who believe that elections don't serve the people. Elections are manipulated. I saw a video, and I'll share that video sometime with you, I think, where I can't remember who it was, but it was one of these anyhow, it wasn't the Chinese. But the leader was saying basically, don't mix up elections with auctions. Because around the world now what you're generally having are auctions. Power, political power, is being sold or given to the highest bidder through elections. And so don't mix it up. But traditionally, elections were meant to change governments or express the will of the people. And so if governments wanted to remain in office, then they had to represent the will of the people and convince the people that they were good for them. In recent times, we see that elections are not serving those purposes. And so a lot of people are thinking, look, to hell was election. We will change governments in non-traditional ways. Look around the world, you've had a lot of coups. People have chosen to change governments by bullets instead of ballots. uprising. Look, just in Sri Lanka the other day. They didn't go to any election. They didn't have time for election because they realized that the election really and truly perhaps didn't provide the leadership that they wanted. They voted at some point in time for that very person who wanted to run and leave the office of government. Right? So let us not be fooled. But the reality is, if you want to change your government and get a government that is good for the people, by elections, you have to be extremely vigilant. And I think that vigilance is lacking in this country. People only awake at election time. They awake when there are big political rallies campaigning for elections. They awake a few months before the actual vote. But the rigging of elections and the auctioning of elections take place long before the day of the vote. Long before those political rallies. That is what the PPP did in the 2020 elections, and that is what the PPP is preparing to do currently. Let me explain that to you. Many of you would have heard me say that the PPP used the last local government election as a dry run for their rigging machinery for the regional and general elections. And I stand by that. If you heard me mention some of the distribution of NDCs in Region 5 and Region 4 and Region 5 and Region 6, then you will recognize that PPP dominated the last local government elections. A lot of people are arguing, and I think incorrectly so, that the PPP was able to dominate those elections because Guyanese did not take local government elections seriously, and so did not go out in their numbers to vote. Let me take a pin here to call a regular jackass. Jackasses like Abigail believe that the ministers are gods and everybody must go and genuflect to the minister when they want something done. And that is why this country is a shithole country. Because they got bottom feeders like Abigail. The country has agencies. They're agencies of state which have responsibilities for certain actions and activities. The Ministry of Agriculture, more specifically the NDIA, National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, has responsibility for drainage and irrigation in this country. And so if there's a problem with drainage and irrigation, I don't have to call any minister. I call the people at the NDIA and give them an opportunity to function. And I dare say that I've called two folks from the Ministry of Agriculture, and they have given me the impression thus far that they are functioning. And you know why I can call them? Because while the APNU AFC was in office, I worked with them. And I know that they're competent. And I know they were efficient under the APNU AFC. And one would be disappointed if they were to lose that efficiency because of this criminal and corrupt cabal. And so, Abigail, you don't come here and tell me what I should do. I can tell you what you should not do. You should not allow an agency of the state as in the Guyana Police Force to work their ranks excessively at your place of residence, and then on top of that, when a body collapses, you video it to put it on social media. That is what you should not do. You're a hypocrite. I don't need to call any minister. Ministers and I are no friends. I will call the necessary agencies. And when the agencies don't function, I will make it known that they're not functioning. They can go to hell. Two-Face. Back to what I was saying about elections. So I was saying that a lot of people are incorrectly saying that the PPP won the local government elections the way they won it handsomely because citizens did not really vote. They didn't take them seriously and they didn't go to register their votes. That might be a contributory factor. Especially, we have a culture in this country when the people you see as your representatives are in government, you take everything else lightly. But Guyanese must develop a culture where they defend their democracy and they defend their government. If your people are in government, then you do everything to ensure that they're in government. You also hold them accountable. Because unless they're accountable, it's not likely that they will get to stay in government. Because the world is always watching. And so they use local government election to test the rigging machinery. One of the things they argued during that election, they were calling for a new voters list. But they had already had systems in place to use that very bloated voters list to rig the elections. And so they came out on top and they realized, hey, this thing can work. This thing is working. This thing is workable. Don't let us fight up for new voters list to the national and regional elections. Don't let us. Because we got our rigging machinery in place. And we know what we have to do. And so they went to the regional and general elections and they rigged. The evidence is there. And recount, we saw it. Almost 50 boxes in PPP dominated areas. I don't know how many persons have been making that known, that distinction known. There are almost 50 boxes that had no statutory documents originated in PPP dominated areas between industry and transport. Good. I was in the recount stations. And so I know what went down. Boxes from one region was found among boxes from another region. And so there's evidence of the PPP regulation. Up until now, I think boxes from region 2, at least the statutory documents from region 2. The statutory documents from region 2, which cannot be accounted for up until now. The PPP knows what they were doing, and they know what they intend to do. Rigging doesn't happen only on the day of the election, it started long before then. And so let's talk about it. It is the intention of the PPP to rig the next local government election and national and regional elections, and they will continue to do that for as long as the people allow them to. Right? One of the things they did is once they got past the local government elections and realized that the rigging machinery was intact, they started objecting to the cleaning of the voters list. And the argument was the same list was used for local government elections and there were no problems. And so we can go to national and regional elections with the same list and there will be no problems. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. And so I'm saying to citizens this morning, do not fall into the same trap. There must be no elections. And when we say no elections, we mean local government elections, nor national and regional elections. No elections whatsoever must take place without the list being cleared. But who can make that happen? Citizens. It is the responsibility of citizens to stand up and defend their democracy. The political leaders have a role to play. They must highlight the weaknesses of the system. They must be prepared to stand alongside their citizens to challenge the system. But they alone can't do it. Citizens also have that responsibility. And like I always say, we need not wait on political leaders. We should start the battle and let the political leaders fall in line. Because in many instances, if you wait on the political leaders, you will wait until eternity and you will get nothing done. Right? You will get nothing done. And so I'm saying, citizens, you should grease your heels. It's time to get out there and challenge the status quo. Because we're already hearing talk. The so-called VP, Sue, says that the government will not do any such thing as to clear the list or clean the list, whichever one you want to call it. I read in one of the newspapers over the weekend that GCOM is saying that they will follow the law as it pertains to the list. And they are saying that the Chief Justice ruled that somebody cannot be taken off of the list simply because they do not present themselves for house registration. And so they can't take off anybody. And so in short, what GCOM is saying is we will go to the elections with a bloated list. As a matter of fact, even more bloated than the last election. How do citizens say to GCOM and this corrupt administration that we will not stand for it? You can't sit at home and grumble on social media and get them the message. You have to take to the streets. And recognizing the importance of your vote in an apartheid Guyana, you ought to be serious about taking to the streets. Because unless you can remove this apartheid government through the ballot, you might have to turn to the bullet at some point in time. And any right-thinking citizen would prefer to know that they can change their governments at the ballot rather than turning to the bullet like places in Sri Lanka and elsewhere. But you can't wait until elections morning to get up and say this is not a fair list. You have to start to agitate now for it to become a fair list. What can you do? They're arguing that because of Claudette, whatever her name, Buxton George's ruling, GCOM is saying it can't take anybody off of the list. Well, there are commissioners at GCOM who made proposals to ensure that there is fairness at the election. They say, let us use biometrics. Somebody must not only be able to present an ID card, but they must be able to, let's say, swipe in with a fingerprint. And so when you swipe in with your fingerprint once, you can't swipe in twice. And so that will remove the possibility of double voting. That would remove the possibility of duplicate and imposter voting. And so if they are arguing that names can be removed from the list, then citizens must demand biometrics as a way of ensuring that the process is not corrupted. And then Nandlel is talking about going to Parliament after recess to amend the Representation of the People's Act. We as citizens must demand that any amendment to the Representative of the People's Act must include an amendment for the removal of persons from the voters list, from the PLE, the preliminary voters list, or an amendment that will allow biometrics to be used. But again, I'm saying, we cannot sit and wait until after the parliamentary recess to make these demands. We cannot sit and wait until local government election to make these demands. These demands have to be made now, and we have to put our bodies behind our demands. People have to take to the streets and try to make this shithole country ungovernable if we don't get the amendments that we are seeking to ensure that our elections are free and fair. All of the international agencies that had something to do with the last election in this country recommended a clean voters list. Every single one of them. Even CARICOM, which we know was in bed with the PPP, and have to corrupt the system at the behest of the US and so on. In their partially credible report, they said at minimum there needs to be a clean voters list for any elections. Even CARICOM. And so we as citizens, we must insist that some way or mean be found to clean the voters list. And since they are talking about amendment to the Representation of the People's Act, let them address the issue of cleaning the voters list through those amendments. Citizens must recognize the importance of their vote, especially in an apartheid state. Because if you don't defend the one man, one vote, and you don't defend the free and fair elections, then the system will be rigged to ensure that the apartheid government remains in place, as they say, for 30, 40, 50 years. Do you want your generation and your future generations to continue to live under this apartheid state called Guyana? This apartheid government called the PPP? I doubt it. I certainly don't. And so I will dedicate my energy to fighting for a fair and a just system for electing the government of this country. And I'm encouraging you to do it. Folks, we cannot continue to live in fear. Fear of being called racist, fear of being called malcontents, fear of being called political hacks, fear of whatever, fear of the police, fear of the vindictive political system. We cannot continue to live in fear and allow that fear to cause us to allow an unjust government to rule over us continuously. Until you get up and you confront that fear, we aren't going anywhere. We aren't going anywhere. So recognize the importance of your vote. Your vote is important to remove the apartheid conditions under which Guyanese are living. Your vote is important to prevent your children, your next generations, living under apartheid in this dear land of ours, Guyana. Don't fool yourselves. People are saying they are not seeing the physical divisions yet. But you're seeing all the trappings of an apartheid state. If you're black, stand back. The public service is being left to wallow in poverty because the majority of black people are there. You haven't seen a cent in wages and salaries increase, while money is being spent left, right, and center. Their communities are left underdeveloped. I explained the impact of that. People in those communities will have to spend more for commodities and their daily existence. Because suppliers are not going to go into those communities because of the bad states of roads. Producers are going to find it difficult to bring out their produce from those communities because of the bad states of roads. And so you will pay more to bring in and you will pay more to take out. And it means that your community will be losing more money. And your development, economic growth and stability will be stagnated. While other communities will be moving ahead economically, and by the time you catch yourself, your community is a total slum, and other communities have developed. Your children are now growing up in ghettos, while other communities are in gated communities. These are things which we have to be aware of. A lot of folks talk about, regardless of which government in office, I got to work. Yeah. Regardless of which government is there, you have to work. But your work, your labor, gets a different value dependent on the government that is in office. Right? Your labor gets valued dependent on which government is in office. You have a classic case. When the coalition was in office, public servants' salaries were moved from a mere $39,000 to $70,000 minimum wage. They got several increases along the way. But since the PPP is in office, what did they get? Dismissals, stagnation, unfair treatment. So their labor is taking on a different value under a different government. And these are things we have to focus on. These are things we have to explain. Because at the end of the day, they all are tied to the vote. They are tied to our vote. I don't think it is only how you vote. It is the conditions under which you vote. Because the whole nation can go and vote for the coalition. But if the machinery is so rigged, then all of those votes for the coalition will not be counted for the coalition. Keep that in mind. Let me address some other issues in relation to your vote. It's a fool attack, fool now listen. Sometimes I like to take first jumps on these things. First jump on these things. Because sometimes other people are too slow to react to them. I hear Anil Nandlal, or I read in the press that Anil Nandlal said somewhere, allegedly, let me say that for clarity, that the PPP is considering an investigation into the information that was provided to say that there were dead and absent voters who participated in the last elections. Especially information which came out from the Immigration Department to say that so many persons who are listed as voted in the last elections did not come into the country. They were not present in the country according to immigration records. It is alleged, Nandlal said they're going to launch an investigation into that. Livarna, Bagwandin. And you look in the mirror, you should see the asshole on your face. Now, after almost 2 years, they're talking about this investigation, this inquiry. Let me talk about that in the inquiry. If that inquiry were to be held now, I would give it no credibility whatsoever. How many of you know that the officer that was in charge of the immigration department was removed under the PPP government? I think his name is Ray, some Ray, W-R-A-Y. How many of you know that that officer, the chief immigration officer, was removed? In fact, I think the chief immigration officer might be the commissioner of police. Right? But the officer in charge of the immigration department, I think his name was Ray, was removed. How many of you know that? Removed and replaced by a PPP hack. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of that? We'll be informed that that has happened. And so, just as how they've been putting people in places to manufacture information for them and to manipulate information, one can expect that a report which will come out of the immigration department can be totally opposite to what Ray provided while he was there. Because the person who is there now was unpicked and placed there by the PPP to do their biddings. The General Registrar's Office, GRO, a lot of people say that's a birth certificate place. It's also the death certificate place and so on. They're supposed to be providing monthly statements to GCOM so that GCOM can remove the dead from the list. It hasn't been done. As soon as the PPP went into office, they removed the head of the GRO. And they put a man named Cummins. Well, for those of you who don't know who Cummins was or is Bishop Fisher, agent brother. You recognize the pattern? They are putting their people in places where the base data, base information for the creation of the voters list and manipulation of the voters list arise. You got to get information from GRO. You got to get information from immigration. We are going to put our people there to control what comes out of there and what goes into there. I understand the man who attempted to steal the 2015 elections. Not the 2015, the elections prior to 2015, when Vincent Alexander had to put a spoke in the wheel. Gokul Buru is not working at the GRO. So can you really trust these systems anymore? Can you trust these places? So they had Cummins there. I understand they had some fallout and he was removed, apparently. I am told that Gokul Buru is a GRO. Well, the evidence is out there that Gokul Buru attempted to steal an entire election for the PPP while he was at GCOM. Do you expect him to do anything differently now that he is a GRO? Like I'm saying, elections are not rigged on election day. The preparations get started long before elections day. The PPP has already put their systems in place to corrupt the election. A part of corrupting the election is maintaining a bloated voters list. And I am saying that the only way we are going to deal with that situation is by taking to the streets and demanding day in, day out amendments to Roper, and he'll say he wants to amend Roper. Let us help him to amend Roper. We want biometrics, and we want a clear path to removing citizens who are no longer here from the voters list. See, I usually tell y'all, I ain't depending on crossover votes. I ain't got no international image to defend, so I could talk the thing. The others could follow me after I done talk the thing. But I challenge the trenches, the likes of Harry Gill, Two-Face, the bottom feeders, and their handlers. I challenge y'all, come with the contradictory information. Prove me wrong. Don't call me a L-I-E-R. Prove me to be a L-I-A-R. Y'all come with information. That's what you have to do. You see, in an age of information, or in a technological age, things are easily accessible. So y'all just straight up prove to these 838 plus viewers who are watching me this morning that this man is a liar. This man is mendacious. Bring the alternative facts. Y'all bring it. But yeah, I can't. Because the reality is what it is. We are living in an apartheid state. And the wicked and vindictive PPP is doing everything to ensure that it stays as the government, as the apartheid government of this apartheid state. Citizens have a responsibility to upturn the apple cart with them. It's 8:16. The lines are open. I'm giving you all early time to talk. The lines are opened. Let us talk about your vote in apartheid Guyana and what you're prepared to do to defend it. Let us talk about how we can ensure that the PPP machinery doesn't succeed this time around. Albert Morgan is noting with concern that Abigail is here almost every day spewing negative comments. And he's reminding, or he's alleging, that Abigail is the one who instigated the protest at Bad Settlement that saw the injury of those children. Come to Buxton, Abigail. I'm inviting you. Come start a protest here. Right. So I'm telling you that they moved Ray from immigration and they put a superintendent Telford. But I want you all to understand, from my information, Telford joined the Guyana police force with the name Ejil. So maybe he had a deed poll, that in which we Guyanese refer to as a deed poll. A deed poll to change his name to Telford. Just as how it is alleged that a minister within the Prime Minister's office who likes little boys had a father's name inserted on his birth certificate eventually because there was never one. While Cummins was a GPO, GRO. These are all allegations. I can only say it is alleged. I may have been there, Or me buy them and sell them. Guyanese are known for saying that. Be aware of these things. Be aware of these things. The PPP has put their hacks in place to ensure that they get their will. Cummins and Buru and whoever else they put a GRO to ensure that non-citizens get birth certificates. Why do you think they made the amendment that said a JP only gonna say he know you? Since you were a sperm and you're gonna qualify for get your birth certificate, do you know how many Brazilians and Venezuelans are now holding citizenship document in this country in the form of a birth certificate? Simply because the PPP wants to get them onto the voters list so that they can get a stronger possibility of remaining in government to discriminate the people of this nation? Do you know that? And so, like I'm saying, we can't sit back and wait till elections morning. The agitation has to start now. And while the politicians have a responsibility, I'm saying that citizens have also a responsibility. And I dare argue. Because citizens are more than politicians, citizens have a bigger responsibility. Because when you come out and you take to the streets in numbers, the politicians either toe the line or they get left behind. This is the second week I'm asking y'all give me 100 people to start a protest. I ain't reached 20 yet, you know, and I'm serious. I don't want people who say, I'm waiting for the day and time. I want people to commit themselves. Send me information. So when I'm ready to protest, I will message you and say, hey, today's the day. Give me 100. 100 will form the nucleus. Give me 100. And let's take out to the streets. Because I think the streets is the place for this battle. Don't tell me nothing about parliament. Don't tell me about social media. Social media is made to educate. We're using it to educate. But action must follow education. I always say, education changes behavior. And so when you get information here that makes you aware, your behavior ought to change. You must not want to sit back anymore and accept this nonsense. Why must we live in an apartheid state? When our sacrifices built this damn land. The lines are open. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Mark Simpson, you can go and learn to spell the word insight. Or you can stay in sight. When you learn to spell, then you convince me that you can reason. And I will have respect for you. Until then, go back to the bottom of the trench. Trenchy. What's coming for me? What's coming for me? And remember bench cup. I don't deal with fear factor. I'm not afraid, but I'm not stupid. Let me remind you. I'm not afraid, but I'm not stupid. Lines are open. My girlfriend for talk the thing. Girlfriend for talk the thing. I never imagined the day when this phone would have remained silent. Well, I'll take an early day. How about that? Do I get an early day today? I mean, y'all know me working hard.
Reginald Daniels, a born and bred villager, said the book A History of the Guyanese Working People by Dr. Walter Rodney presents compelling evidence to prove that the land stretching from Mocha to Little Diamond on the east bank of Demerara belonged to the residents of Mocha. During a press conference hosted by the NDC on Saturday, Daniels read an extract from the book, which states that the lands were taken away from the freed slaves by the then government.
A notorious instance was the seizure of land by Plantation Diamond from Mocha Village in Canal Number 3, an injustice that was perpetuated in 1883 and only partially redressed by the courts in 1887 and in Appendix 32. I haven't read past this page in that book since, because when I went to Appendix 32, what I found, and we engaged a researcher out of London, is a handwritten petition dated in 1887 on behalf of the former Africans that were enslaved.
According to the 1887 petition, the land remains in the undisputed possession of the petitioner until about 4 years ago, when it was illegally, unfairly, unjustly, and wrongfully taken possession of by the executive government and added to Plantation Diamond. The petition said the freed slaves were farming on the lands.
Put yourself back in the 1800s. These Africans that were enslaved for centuries, can you imagine any one of them going on land that was not theirs? Picture the mindset of those slaves that would have been so petrified. Basic, if they were even caught learning to read or write, was beaten within an inch of their lives. Do you think any one of them would go on land by their former slave masters that were not theirs?
The lands which are being claimed are the entire backlands stretching from Mocha to Little Diamond all the way back to the Lamaha Conservancy. Daniels plans to make these submissions to the ongoing Commission of Inquiry into Ancestral Lands, where a number of persons have already made claims to lands which they believe belonged to their ancestors. He noted too that if the government puts the Lombard and Broad Street squatters on these disputed lands, then the COI finds that the lands indeed belong to the former freed slaves, then the administration will find itself with a more complicated issue to address. Davina Samaru, Newsroom.
It's not ICSA. It's Newsroom. Carter, you live. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I was not able, I had problem with my internet. So most of the program I didn't get. But the little that I was able to get is talking about election and so forth. Now with the last election, in my area, there were lots of people who died over 20 years that was still on the list. And I don't see why the installed regime wants to still have dead people on the list. Dead people can't come back. When you're dead, you finish. And those people, there should be provisions made that when persons are dead, the name should automatically come off the voters list. Also, they should take the ID cards and have them destroyed, really destroyed, put them in fire. So nobody could be given those ID cards to go and vote on election day. Now with this thing with the apartheid state, it is an apartheid state. Because the CDC, the PPP, getting their forerunners in the different villages, NDCs, to form this CDC. And this CDC comes in now and overpowers and overrun the NDC. Now money is being given from the main installed regime into the CDC, and that gives the CDC a position, an authoritative position. Because in then themselves we got the CDC headed by the house slave. Now the CD they started then themselves people could only get jobs to clean up the streets. They clean up all the garbage and they dump it to the front of the village. You go to the NDC could say not because they said that is the government doings. And right about now, to the starting of them themselves from the eastern starting point, rising come from Georgetown, there is a huge dump site. And the NDC keeps on collecting garbage, take whatever vehicle they could get and dump it to the starting of the road. And I would like to know if you could give me a place where we could go and make a complaint against these people for dumping and littering. Now, where this dump site is now located, you got people who lived outside for more than 30 and 40 years, come back to Guyana, put up beautiful buildings. They lived in a system where they didn't used to see garbage. And now their homes now has been, they got a word for it, but I can't remember it often. When you go in the house, it stink from the garbage on the road. The front of their place now, because they on the public road, they got the L-shaped yard. The front and the side of their yard, that should be a place of beauty. That when you hit, you could see the Africans in this area trying to live good, build fancy place. It is defaced now by the garbage dump site that is coming up. The dump site is a little girl who was a silver medalist, and they put up a billboard for the girl right to the foot. This girl billboard is a set of garbage. The garbage is there and the plastic bags busting up. So you understand what is going on. So Kedaki, if you know anywhere
go to the EPA, Rhonda,
that you could give me, huh?
Go to the EPA.
EPA.
Yes.
Where I could find that?
They are in Sophia.
Okay, all right, thanks for your advice.
Good.
So that's it. All right, bye-bye.
Lines remain open. 625-933 is the number to call. Let me tag the thing. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. I heard you read that message there where they said, what's coming for you? Sir, let me tell you this. Let me make your day nice for you. And let me make your day pleasant for the PPP supporters. Anytime they touch you, David Hinds,
call over the line,
or any one of those APNU people that is supporting us, that is bringing out these news for us, the PPP know that Guyana will be mash up. What I mean mash up, mash up. Don't listen to these little goons that PPP have out there that they giving $1,500 or $3,000 or $10,000. You could barely buy a bag of sugar and it done with it. Let them know. We're not going to the voters list. We're not going and vote until we get a clean voters list. And the opposition have to say that. The PNC have to say that. The APNU supporters have to say that. We're not going to vote no local election, no federal election. We're not doing it. The reason why we're not doing it, the list is bloated. And there's no way in this world I can see that the opposition will go to a local election or a federal election with this list. You have to be kidding me. But I am just saying, PPP supporters, if you guys feel like you want to touch Kadaki, or you feel like you want to touch Gavin Matthews, or David Hinds, or Sherrod Duncan, you guys go right ahead. And then you will see problem. I know a lot of things, bad things will happen. Really, 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 really bad things. Go ahead. Don't fall for their bluff. They can't do you nothing. I am telling you this. You want, hey, let these people think that they're playing with the wrong side of people. Let me let you guys know, black people have nothing to lose, you know. The whole of Regent Street was built on drugs money. All them coolie people in Regent Street to sell drugs back in the days. And it's the truth. All of them coolie people that have business in Regent Street was drugs money. America Street too. Drugs money. You think black people have anything to lose? We don't sell drugs because we don't want to go to jail. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, Voice Note. Caller Live, good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. The first question I want to ask, I don't know if you may be able to answer it, and there is something that will follow. Did anyone ever challenge that decision handed down by Rox and George, where they couldn't touch the existing voters list?
No.
That's the
As
first
a matter of
question
fact,
I asked.
As a matter of fact, the article which came out of GCOM noted that that decision was never appealed, right? And I guess they're saying maybe if they had appealed it, it would have been a different ball game. And so sometimes we beat up the opposition for dropping the ball. But like they say, water under the bridge, it was never appealed. And so right now, as I'm seeing it, to get what we want has to do with the same amendment of Roper. Good? They have to rely on the amendment of Roper. And the only way you get an amendment of Roper is if you take to the streets and demand that it be amended. That's all I'm saying. Call it live, good morning.
Right,
sorry, continue.
The other thing is, I think every caller after now, or even before, they need to describe Guyana for what it is. The only thing that stands in the way for a complete apartheid state is the fact that there is no partition or separation in terms of the Indians being on this side and the blacks could only remain on that side. Barring that, every other facet of apartheid exists wholly and solely in Guyana. Guyana is an apartheid state. And I am making no bones about it. Every description on Guyana, the word apartheid must be placed before it. And that is what is going to turn the minds of those Jezebels who wants to create their own notions, like Freddie Kissoon and the Rahamons and them, who come up with nonsensical reason to dispel the notion of apartheid. Let them know clearly and squarely that they can run and try to guise, but they can't hide because the world knows it. And it's only a matter of time before reality kicks in and some of them will run and hide their faces where there will be no more muds. Anyway, Kadaki, you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you for your call. Voice Note.
Hi, Kanaki. Good morning to you and the viewers. I was listening to everything that you said this morning, but just one thing I'm afraid of is that the government might use or will be using taxpayers' money to pay lobbyists, billions of dollars just to stay in power. I don't know what you could tell us concerning that. Yeah, is there anything we can do to prevent that?
if there's anything you can do to prevent that. Because the government currently employs, I think, 4 lobbyists in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And that is not a secret. I think by now people know that they're paying them millions of dollars monthly. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that's where they're operating out of, as far as I last knew.
Good morning, Kadaki. I returned from Guyana yesterday after spending nearly a month. Let me tell you something. I cannot for the life of me understand how our people are just sitting back and accepting all of this discrimination. I mean, you go to villages and you see villages that the streets are in excellent condition, but people, they scraping the streets and doing them back. And then you go to predominantly stronghold villages, and the streets are deplorable. I mean, I don't know, but our people really, really need to get up, because we ain't going nowhere, and it's moving slow like a Category 5 hurricane, just saddling over an island. And it's sad because our people just going around like everything is okay.
Thank you for that voice note. Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Six 6225933 is the number to call. The lines are open. Yes, you know, sometimes we need to pay a little close attention. The apartheid government is already paying lobbyists with our money. Call it live. Good morning.
Morning, Kadaki, and morning, Guyana. You were teaching, but unless, you know, we got some students that are the Guyanese people not hearing what you were saying. So you've been teaching all these years now, but they have not adhered or even understand what you're telling them about. So basically, previous caller said what we can do, there's lots that can be done, but it seems like nobody wants to do anything. They're satisfied with the position they're in, and I guess I would say that they've given up their birthright, given up what Coffee had fought for, and they're going to get down on their knees and pray that something is going to change, that the racist PPP Indian party is going to change their ways. Not going to happen. The things that we're hoping that they're not doing, they're already doing it. It's like the previous caller said, he hoped that we're not taking the taxpayers' money for lobbying. They're already doing it. So all the things that we think they're not doing have been done, been doing it. So the question is, what would redress look like? And that's the solution that we've got to think about. We just can't think that they're going to take it and just not give it up. You got to fight for your right. You got to fight to get back. Anything. Just don't pray about it and hope that Jesus is going to come and help you. Fight. That's all I would say for my African brethren and sisters. That's my take.
Thank you, caller. They've gone to their usual refrain. You're encouraging treason. Oh, Lord, trenches, go back to the bottom of the gutter. Go back to the bottom of the gutter. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Let's call and talk about apartheid Guyana and the mischief afoot by this wicked and corrupt administration. They have put their people in places already. to further corrupt the electoral process. The chief elections officer, whatever his name, doesn't know his head from his foot. But he's there to do the bidding of the PPP. Call in live, good morning.
Hi, Clarky, good morning, good morning. Okay. My contribution to the day is, I've been saying the same thing for quite some time back. From a long time, I've been saying the same thing that you mentioned there. That the PPP is putting their people in places, they're making preparation, and they're preparing for the election. So, likewise, the opposition need to work consistent with that. They need to think like that too. They need to use strategy to get ahead of the PPP. So they have to start working from now. Just as how the PPP is preparing. They're preparing to put things in place to rig the election from now on. And all now the rigging is starting. It's not that how you mentioned it, well, it's going to be a couple days before the election. No way. It's happening now. All now that we're sitting down in our homes and thinking everything is okay or hunky-dory. Yeah, they're working very hard to make preparation. You see, they're putting people in places in high position. They're putting all their people that they could control and maneuver. So the opposition needs to step in from now and be more stern and start working as well as the PPP is working, so that now they could get ahead of the PPP. Because if they don't do that, the PPP will have one step ahead of the opposition. Anyway, take care. That's all.
Thank you. Lines remain open. Call A Live, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Hi, man, I didn't get to hear your full program. I came on late. But the pieces that I heard and what I have to say about that, you wouldn't get, it's not breaking your mind. But my observation, being a Guyanese, and how it goes there in Guyana, you wouldn't get that 100 people. The situation lies in the opposition or these political leaders, them or parties. That's how people comes out. You'll get people to come out. Most people to come out. Otherwise than that, everything lies in the opposition hands. They will have to carry that load or carry that attack or speak up. They have to do just as what Venezuela opposition did. Do not go to any polls. Period. Let the PPP alone go to the polls. Let us see how the international bodies they will look at that government in office. Now, thirdly, the position that the PPP have people in so as to protect them. This thing was happening at the time when we had a president in office. While we had a dispute of the election was going on, the PPP along with foreign dignitaries were visiting all the installations, government installations that they have here in Guyana. Marking all the areas that they did where the changes now is happening, or people are there now that is safeguarding the PPP. In front of our eyes, and in front of a president eye, a government eye, the PPP was doing that. Independently walking in with these foreign dignitaries. So it's nothing that happened when the PPP went into office. The These plans were started to make in front of all Guyanese eyes and a government for these changes. You know, so it's nothing of surprise. When we come back, the opposition will have to take that burden or load on with GCOM. Do not go there. Or they are the person who could get the people them to come out on the streets. You trying, they ain't gonna listen. They ain't got no time, man. They go by James Bond and them places and wait for what you call it, boat cruise, and they're busy. You know, so that's my take, Mr. Amsterdam, and I hope the opposition do that. Don't go to any election. You know, let me see how that will work. That's my position. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Lines are open. Call it live. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Iraqi. Good morning to the listening audience. Hello?
Yes, caller, you're live.
Hello?
Yes, caller, you're live.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Good morning, Gail. Now, we are having some rallies, right? And I think that we need to intensify our rally more. We need to get more rallies going on, right? Even at the square of the revolution, we need to keep some of our rally there. So we have to get that place cleaned up and keep our rally there at Jubilee Park. Secondly, I'm wanting to know what the coalition is doing so an audience for these Hispanic people that is in our country, because we need like Spanish-speaking persons to talk to these people to make them aware of what's going on in this country, and they must not suck up to this PPP regime that was installed. So we need to have a Spanish-speaking persons to get over to these Spanish persons, immigrants that are in our country, right? And we really need to get, as we start our rally, we really need to get more rallies out, right? As we start our campaign, we really need to go out there and get our rallies out. That's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. It is now 8 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. We're preparing to take a wrap. Remember, Club Twilight is open. You can come down here and get 4 banks beer for $1,000, 5 GT beer for $1,000. You get cutters at an affordable price, and the atmosphere is great. Yes, Club Twilight. It's located at Buxton, Skyline Dam, North Side. In-house DJ and music to your liking. Call A Live. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kadaki and viewers and listeners. I want to just highlight something. When the WP had said that we must give every household $1 million out of the oil money, you know, in case they want to do anything, they will have money to do something for themselves. And then I remember Cathy Hughes proposing out of the $670 million that is in the funds. Just take $70 million and give it to the Guyanese people. And then there was this other proposal where the opposition leader presented a motion to the assembly suggesting that at 18 years and older, you should have $200,000, you know, in case you want to do anything for yourself. You got to step to bail or a fence to repair, so whatever you want to do with this money. And all was rejected by the present administration. One politician, he went and said, oh, if you get $1 million, you think I want to work, they're going to become parasites, and all other stuff. Another one said, oh, it is not feasible. You understand? And they find various means to shut it down because it was coming from the opposition side. Now they are utilizing that money in a subtle way to campaign. They are picking and choosing which areas to give money to. Just recently they went to number 9 and they gave 600 persons $1 million each to start the homes and so on. I mean, nothing is wrong with that. But then again, it's the money that belongs to the people. You cannot give it out in a way where you pick and choose. And then you're using remarks like you want the opposition, you want people who making comments to match that. Now the opposition have they don't control the money. So what they're going to match with? You understand? But it shows directly that this guy who said that, he doesn't have any form of decorum. You understand? So you could expect all this kind of foolishness from him. But I think it's time that the Guyanese people, leadership, just make sure that this money is distributed equitably. I mean, nothing is wrong with giving $1 million to the Amerindian people, but we are all Guyanese. You go into certain communities, you just talk and photo ops, you don't give them anything. And you went to certain communities and spot on, you say, well, okay, with immediate effect, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. Come on, man, we all, you're just going around the place, sharing out the money like if it's your money. You understand? No money for the nurses, the hard-working teachers, the police officers that protect this nation, the army personnel that protects our borders. So you're just going around, you don't want to negotiate with the union for them to get any benefit. But then you're just going around and using this kind of subtle, deceiving kind of way to share out the state funds like if it's coming out from your bank account. That's my speech in the morning.
Thank you, caller.
The heart of government, Sri Lanka's presidential secretariat, was surrounded by thousands of protesters who then stormed the building. From the morning, clashes between protesters and security forces have taken place across the capital city, Colombo. Undeterred by tear gas, police firing in the air and water cannons, protesters gathered to march on the president's house to force him out of office. In the clashes, many are reported to be injured.
Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning to you, Mr. Amsterdam. Now, my contribution is on the voters list. Now, I believe that I don't think the information with the ruling of the Chief Justice is being properly put over by those in the opposition. Because the government keep preaching that the Chief Justice said that no names cannot be removed from the list unless you're dead. Which is true what she said, but she was speaking, her ruling was based on the NRR, the National Register of Registrants. That is the list that permitted everybody, including people who are under 18 years of age. The entire country are a National Register of Registrants. To get the voters list, you have to pull names from the NRR and make the voters list. And the Chief Justice said Jacob can use any method to verify the voters list, including house registration. It was not the Chief Justice of the house. It was the Jacob chair who discontinued the house registration. She was speaking about the NRR, not the voters list. You have to pull names from the NRR to get to the voters list. And I think that is where the opposition need to educate the nation on. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Well, I certainly agree with the caller that it is the NRR. It is from the NRR that the list of electors is compiled. Right? You have the National Register of Registrants. That is what is created by the house-to-house registration. The National Register of Registrants. And then you extract those who are eligible to vote from the NRR. Good? The conundrum, as I see it, is if you have a bloated NRR, then you're going to end up with a bloated voters list. Because from the NRR, you pull all of those persons who are 18 years and older. Because you are eligible to vote at 18 years or older. And so if you have an NRR that has all of the dead people on it, all of the migrants on it and so on, and then GCOM has to extract the 18-year-olds from there, 18 and older, then they're going to end up with a bloated list. And I think that's a challenge. So we are saying and we are recommending that, okay, if you extract a bloated list, it can be fixed. Let's use biometrics. Let's amend the law to allow for the use of biometrics. Call in live, good morning.
This past weekend, we made a tremendous first step to signal to the world and to signal to the PPP administration that they are now being acknowledged. Officially, we are saying to the world that the PPP government is functioning as an apartheid state. Is functioning. Because even though we're saying we are emerging, and when we say something is emerging, it means that something is working its way up to a final destination, but it hasn't quite yet reached that. I am saying that the facts which have been laid do not say that we are emerging. The facts say that we currently are in a state of apartheid. And it's a very different distinction there between emerging, between becoming, and being is. The gentleman just called here made a very good point about the list. Now, the list has issues in court before. But since the list and GCOM has went to court, we have not yet gone to court again since evidence has been revealed that the list is obviously padded. Let me say how. The fact that the police department under Leslie James and immigration has proffered evidence to substantiate that the list is not credible, that is police evidence by the police commissioner and the police department to validate a fresh argument before the court and the CCJ. Now we have tangible evidence for the courts. It's very different for when issues went before the court before elections. So there's the before and the after. So we have a good case. So when we're saying there's a line drawn in the sand, I think that it's time that we go to the courts on this issue. Not because we'll probably say, well, the courts isn't going to do much. Well, we need to ask the courts how can they ignore verifiable facts by the Guyana Police Department and the immigration and the GRO? What are the entities that substantiate identity? GRO said they're dead. Immigration said they're out of the country. At least 4,000. So we have sufficient evidence. Then when we go to the irregularities, the irregularities aren't as strong as Leslie James's report. But the irregularities in the missing poll books show that had these checks and balances been adequate enough, we would not have these discrepancies, which the CARICOM people say, is reasonable, credible, and that kind of thing. So there is sufficient evidence here to make a very, very strong case concerning the list. Right? Stevie Wonder could see that, and he's blind. The question now becomes, why aren't we going to court then with all this evidence? You see, and not to mention the open audit at Auditor Center. So there is a multiplicity of evidence there that begs us to go to the court again. And I'm pretty sure if Roxanne George doesn't want to do it, well, if she tries to mess that up, we will definitely know that she is definitely compromised. Blatantly compromised.
Thank you,
and if the appeals court doesn't want to do it, I'm pretty sure that the CCJ will rule in a favor for us on that. Once again, thank you for listening.
Thank you for calling. It's now 4 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. They say Blake Clipson in sight.
Their patience was wearing thin, even with the military. They broke down the multi-layer protective cordons and removed all barriers from their path for the final push. Security forces were overwhelmed by the sheer numbers and determination as they stormed the president's house. Some carrying the nation's flag, they walked through the gardens and many rooms and corridors of the building, warning their president to go, while a few jumped in the swimming pool to cool off in the most secure address in the country. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had earlier been evacuated to an undisclosed location. Temple Tree, the official residence of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, was also stormed by protesters, while his private home has been set alight. The anger against leaders is palpable. After an emergency meeting, the Prime Minister has agreed to step down for an all-party government to be formed.
What they did was they were trying to be in power using various methods. So today, the people who were in the struggle, they entered the President House possibly and took it into control.
The island's 22 million citizens are facing the worst ever economic crisis, which has triggered shortages of food, medicine and fuel. The deep-rooted economic problems have remained unaddressed for decades, and the Rajapaksa government's mismanaged economic policies has left the country virtually bankrupt. The government is now in talks for a $3 billion bailout with the International Monetary Fund. But for the moment, it's ordinary Sri Lankans who will have to bear the brunt of the worst man-made disaster the country is facing. Neville Lazarus, Sky News. The heart of government, Sri Lanka's presidential secretariat, was surrounded by thousands of protesters who then stormed the building. From the morning, clashes between protesters and security forces have taken place across the capital city, Colombo. Undeterred by tear gas, police firing in the air and water cannons, protesters gathered to march on the president's house to force him out of office. In the clashes, many are reported to be injured. Their patience was wearing thin, even with the military. They broke down the multi-layer protective cordons and removed all barriers from their path for the final push. Security forces were overwhelmed by the sheer numbers and determination as they stormed the president's house. Some carrying the nation's flag, they walked through the gardens and many rooms and corridors of the building, warning their president to go, while a few jumped in the swimming pool to cool off in the most secure address in the country. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had earlier been evacuated to an undisclosed location. Temple Tree, the official residence of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, was also stormed by protesters, while his private home has been set alight. The anger against leaders is palpable. After an emergency meeting, the Prime Minister has agreed to step down for an all-party government to be formed.
What they did was they were trying to be in power using various methods. So today, the people who were in the struggle, they entered the President House possibly and took it into control.
The island's 22 million citizens are facing the worst ever economic crisis, which has triggered shortages of food, medicine and fuel. The deep-rooted economic problems have remained unaddressed for decades, and the Rajapaksa government's mismanaged economic policies has left the country virtually bankrupt. The government is now in talks for a $3 billion bailout with the International Monetary Fund. But for the moment, it's ordinary Sri Lankans who will have to bear the brunt of the worst man-made disaster the country is facing. Neville Lazarus, Sky News.
And let me remind you that the Buxton Heritage Fund, yes, Buxton Heritage Fund has that fundraiser coming up. And you're encouraged to support. Yes, Buxton Heritage Fund presents its Labor Day Weekend Jam, Picnic Jam, Saturday, September 3rd from sunset till morn. Super Ray one-man band in the house alongside DJ Stereo Choice. And the event is going to be at 454 Vermont Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11207. Yes, that's between Blake and Sutter Avenues. Starting time 4 p.m. until whenever you're tired and you want to go home. But we going from sunset till daybreak. Tickets, a donation of $10 in advance, $15 at the door. There also is going to be a cash bar, yes, drinks and food at friendly prices. And it's all in aid of the Buxton Friendship Community Development Projects. You can get tickets from John P. Newton at 347-881-7055. Onika Connell at 917-912-9384. Dennis Booker at 929-239-0290. Lorna Campbell at 718-342-0040. Rennie Paris can be met at 347-863-6121. Ken Wilkinson at 646-789-3972. Quentin Bacchus at 202-460-3948. and Boyer Wood at 646-727-5937. Ojembo Tafawa can be met at 631-806-3500. You can also get tickets online up to the 2nd of September at Buxton-Friendship Heritage Fund, Inc. PayPal account. So go and get your tickets and support the thing. Because when you support the thing there at 454 Vermont Street, this Saturday coming, they will be able to support projects back home. Yes, big up yourself, Super Ray and DJ Stereo Choice in the house. Meantime, let me say, have a good day. See you later this evening for WPA's Day Clean program. And definitely tomorrow, Dr. Hinds will be on.
The South Asian nation of
Dr. Hinds will be on with Politics 101. In the meantime, between time, stay safe. And remember, you can come down. Yes, you can come down to Club Twilight and get a cold one. It's 4 for 1,000 and 5 for 1,000. And you have fish and chips, and you have chicken and chips, and you have, those of you who like big sausages, we got calabresa. Have a good day, and goodbye to you.